Good morning, everybody. Give me a thumbs up if y'all can hear me out there. Testing, testing, testing. Hello, hello, hello. We're good. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Good morning. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's February 24th, 2024 or 2023. Sorry about that. 2023. Our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories. If we've anybody out there has landed, you're welcome to tell us what's going on. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second reductions in so we can find out who you are and what you do. We'll then go to our committee reports and then our main event towards the top of the hour. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter your questions into the chat box. For those watching on Facebook, you're welcome to enter any questions you've got in the comment field. We are monitoring that feed and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior person who was leading the group said he got a job, and somehow I got selected to run it and have been doing it ever since. In 2008, I saw there was a need. I created a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched the second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies with me. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a moment. Well, we'd like to start the meeting off with good news. Do we have any landings, any good news people would like to share out there? Going once? Going twice? I mean, last week we had 3 landings, so we probably ate up our landings for February, maybe. Anybody else? All right, well, let's move on here. All right, what we'd love for everybody to do now is in the Zoom chat window or the Facebook comment field, put in your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, 2 or 3 target companies, then hit the return key. For those people that are here in person, if you'll fill out a little slip of paper, we will make sure all your information gets added to the list. I use this to add to update the roster. So if you are on the roster this afternoon, you will get an email with all the information about what's going on here. So if you will do that, that'd be really, really great. We'd love to be able to know who you are, what you do, and how we can help you out. So I'll give everybody 30 seconds on the clock here. All right. Please, if you haven't done it, please continue. And for those watching on Facebook right now, don't worry, I will delete your personal information out of the comment field immediately after this meeting's over. I'll copy it over and then delete it so it won't be hanging out there forever and ever. All right, what we'd like to do now is for those people that are here in the room with us today, we want to allow them to give their 30-second introductions. So if you're not sure what to say, here's a little thing up here on the wall, and we'll let you start passing the mic around. Rick, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Rick De La Fuente. I am a CFO and financial executive. I create value by listening and problem solving and making people's lives easier. So I've been doing finance and accounting work for 20 years here in the DFW area. Don't currently have a list of target companies, so I'm going to work on that to have it ready for next time. Again, my name is Rick De La Fuente.
Hi, I'm Margie Holland and I am looking for something in the mortgage field with recent layoffs. I know it's been a little difficult, so I'm even looking for making a change and trying to get into something different. At this time, I really don't have any target companies yet. And again, my name is Margie Holland. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashik Kaku. I'm a finance professional in the consumer product space. And my most recent role was running a charity for children called Wipe Out Kids Cancer. I was CEO there. At this point, I'm looking for a role in as a finance type, regional CFO, VP of finance, consumer products, healthcare, financial services, and also seeing if there's anything in the nonprofit to see if I can leverage what I did at Wipe Out Kids Cancer. Companies that I'm targeting are Southwest Airlines, Susan G. Komen, Pepsi, and Hilton. Ashik Kaku, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. This is Geneva Silva. I am in real estate, or at least the past 20 years I've been in real estate, with the last 15 being in default and foreclosures. I've gone through a couple of layoffs, and right now I am looking to pivot into a different industry. I don't know what that industry is right now. I'm very open and adaptable at this point. I don't have any target companies. I would say my target company is one that has a strong values, integrity, and a very, very diverse culture. Thank you. Geneva Silva.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tara. I'm multicultural, multilingual, not interested in teaching or translation, though. I have work experience in accounting as assistant, not professional, somewhere between associate level and entry level. Also, I have experience in business administration. I'm crazy about a job in forensic investigations. That's what my career path would be, and I'm working towards it. I have one target company for right now, but any company who needs help with forensic investigations, fraud investigations, whatever, I'm in.
Tell us what your target company is.
The name is somehow weird. Let me, Alvarez and Marcel, something like that.
Okay, we'll get it on the list. It goes out this afternoon. Very
Yes,
good.
yes,
Thank you
thank
very much. All right, that's everybody who's here in the room with us today. Let me do a couple of things here and we will. All right. If you know somebody who's recently been laid off or somebody who is laid off, please let them know about CareerDFW and CareerUSA.org, two totally free websites that are out there. I only promote this because it is free and there's no attachments, there's nothing you have to do, there's nothing you have to fill in, there's no registration. There's a lot of really, really great information on there for those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And even for those outside the DFW area, there's a calendar of events, and there's several different calendars out there. All the pink or job fairs, the gold or special workshops that you can attend. Most of those are online. All the blue events for those in the DFW area or networking groups that meet here in the local DFW area. All the purple events, those are webinars, things that you can attend anywhere you're at. So please, if you know somebody's unemployed, please let them know about CareerDFW and the great information that's on that and the Career USA website. All right, we want to talk a little bit about the practice interview team. Remember this, your resume and your LinkedIn profile is not going to get you a job. What it will get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So the Dallas Pit Crew is here to offer interviews. They've been really busy here the last couple of weeks. This past Wednesday, we actually did for interviewing Wednesdays, we did an online interview so that anybody could watch it who was out there. I hope for those who watched it, found it very interesting. The practice interview team is totally free. They don't charge anything. Their motto is practice early, practice often. Don't wait until you have an interview and say, I've got an interview tomorrow. Can you get me a practice interview? That's not going to happen. They need 2, 3, 4 days to schedule people. They've got a team of about 30 people who have been hiring managers who will go and conduct an interview with you. All you need to do is send a resume and a job description. Send it to dallaspickrue@gmail.com and tell them when you're available in the next 3 to 4 days, and they will schedule a free practice interview. Let them know where you are in the interview process. Oh, I really don't have an interview scheduled right now. Well, that's okay. Just find a job description that you're interested in, send it in, send in your resume, and just let them know this is just a practice. I found this on the internet. I'm not really interviewing with this company. Or if it's the second or third interview you've got with a company, let them know that, because they'll customize the questions. The interview is different between the first interview you get when the recruiting people call you versus the second, third, and fourth one when you're meeting with the hiring manager. So just, let them know where it is. It is totally free. Now, starting next Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting live in person only on the first and third Wednesdays each month. So next Wednesday, they'll be meeting right here at Christ United Methodist Church, where we're at right now this morning, 3101 Coit Road. It's at the corner of Coit and Parker. We're upstairs in room N256. There'll be little diagrams parking the north parking lot. But we'd love to see you here in person on the first and third Wednesdays. There will be no online option next week. So for those of you who are out of town, I'm sorry, but we'll be back. The next one will be on March 8th when we're back doing an online session. So please come join us in person on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. You have a great opportunity to network and to see a real interview in person. All right, time to hear from Walt Glass about the Interview Success Workshop. Good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, Jeff, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to Happy Friday. You know, the best thing about today, there's only 4 days left in February. If we can get through February, I think we can make it. So what do? I help with interviewing as well. Now, I heartily support and recommend the Pit Crew, which is a panel mock interview. But as I watched those, I saw there's a need, I think, for us to learn something before we actually get to the real practice. And that's called the Interview Success Workshop. What's the workshop all about? Well, it is informal. And it's the idea of learning how to sell ourselves as defined by selling who we are, what we do, and how we can help, the value that we can bring. Also, it stresses how to differentiate ourselves from other candidates. So how can we be different? How can we be memorable? So it came out to be very informal. You do get an interview. You will have a video of your interview. We'll cover the basic categories of questions, and we'll look at motives and reasons why these questions are being asked. We're not built just to respond to questions. We would like to understand why this question is being asked, who's asking it, and where we are in the process to help determine what option we might take as a response to that. So I'd like to get us out of the mindset of just responding to questions to this selling mindset and selling those 3 items of I am, I do, and I help. I requested that you send me an email to my Yahoo email address. That QR code on the screen will start an email that you see the content up there on the screen. But it'll send that to me and say, I'd like to request a scheduling time for the workshop. I only do 1 or 2 people at a time. It's generally on Tuesdays, but demand's been higher lately. So I've scheduled some extra ones that people can attend and participate. It's done online. So I'd like to have you join with us. There's no need while we're learning to have to sit in a hot seat. There's no need to feel like that our life is flashing in front of our eyes and that we're stressful and a lot of anxiety. So the workshop is simply this. It is learning without squirming. Is job search putting us to the test? In interviews, do we appear like all the rest? Learning how to sell ourselves and differentiate, I suggest that the workshop can show that we are the best.
Thank you very much, Walt. All right. Let's see. Let me click on a few things. Lots to do here when you're trying to run this little thing here. All right. It's time to hear this week's career tip of the week. There's a new career tip of the week every week on the Career FW and Career USA websites. Rosanna is here to tell us what this week's tip is. So good morning, Rosanna.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. All right. Well, this week's tip of the week is, give me just a second, dated 2/19 of 23, and it's how to not be boring while you're networking. So a networking expert shares his secrets to making yourself memorable. And this article is by Ivan Misner. Charlie Lawson, author of The Unnatural Networker, and I often discuss the importance of telling a great story. Think about the last networking meeting that you went to where people had a chance to introduce themselves. Were they interesting? Did they grab your attention? Were they engaging? Or did you find yourself often thinking, do I really have to carry on this conversation? So first, you want to have a great story ready to tell. If you want to know that people are really listening, supply them with a great story. Charlie gave an example regarding a business networking international member named Dina. Dina ran a Yorkshire, England-based listing agency, which specializes in short-term accommodations. One day, she got a call on a cold, rainy February afternoon, and Dina could tell that the lady on the line, who we'll call Anne, was quite upset from all the commotion of kids running around in the background. Anne had been kicked out of her house by her partner, who left her with the kids, and she was calling to see if there was anything Dina could do to help. Now, I know this doesn't usually happen on short notice, admitted Anne, but I need somewhere to stay tonight. Dina managed to source her a property and told the harried woman that they'd work with her or work out the details as soon as possible the following day. Then, right as Dina was about to hang up the phone, she asked, "Where are you now?" Anne relayed that she was currently standing on the roadside with kids in tow, along with a couple of suitcases and no ride. So Dina got in her car, picked the crew up, and took them to the temporary residence where they managed to sort out everything. After telling this tale, Charlie asked me if I would ever refer business to Dina. I answered, as anyone would, with an effusive yes. Second, you want to reveal something they'll remember. Dina realized that they were in a grave situation, and she could make a difference for Anne and her family. A regular listing agent would just go as far as offering the short-term spot and last-minute solutions before hanging up to address whomever else was on hold. What better sells these services is the fact that we know we'd be comfortable referring said agent, and that if where storytelling happens, it becomes both memorable and the sort of thing that we'll bring up in a subsequent conversation. The next time someone asks about a listing agent, who do you think I'm going to remember? Even though we may not have been in a situation ourselves, the story helps us to understand how the person involved felt. Anne actually did get the family into a permanent flat, but what resonates most often is how Dina served her potential client in a time of need. Storytelling is more interesting, memorable, and referable than simple facts about services that you can offer. Recall why we go to networking events. That's to build our businesses through referrals. We've got to give our networking partners the tools to find those referrals, and I think effective anecdotes are a great way to do that. Plus, compelling stories, as Charlie likes to say, won't bore people to tears. So this tip was written by Dr. Ivan Misner. He's a New York Times bestselling author and co-author of the book Networking Like a Pro. He's also a founder and chief visionary officer of BNI, which is BNI.com, the world's largest referral marketing and networking organization. Now, when I read this tip this week, what came to my mind to add on to this is even though this tip is talking about networking and not boring people during your networking and telling great stories and revealing something that they'll remember, you also want to apply these tips to interviewing. Remember, you can use these same tips when you are doing your star stories. So tell a great story, yet be sensitive to time. Don't drag the story out too long or lose sight of the time and the point to the story. So follow the guidelines of star stories when you're also interviewing. Talk about a situation or task, the action you took, and most importantly, the results. And make sure to reveal something that they'll remember, yet keep your time limit under tight control. Be very concise, and ideally 1 to 3 minutes at max, because you do not want to bore a person. And keep in mind, your recruiters are taking notes, so you can't get, if we only have a limited amount of time to actually conduct a phone interview, then you need to keep your story short so they can get through as many questions and really get a feel for who you are and how you apply up against the job description and what the hiring manager has said that they're looking for. So please don't bore your listener. Also, I heard Asik is back. Asik, you'd mentioned that you're looking for a financial, high-level financial role, and Pepsi, their HR representative is going to be at the One Community Church Career Fair tomorrow. So everybody on this call, you guys can take a look on One Community Church's website. It's visit onecc.com and kind of scroll down to the career fair. Like I said, it's tomorrow from 9 to 1:30. I'll make sure to put the information in the chat as well. But you want to register online. And then also the employer list is on there. And on there, the employer list has the point of contacts that will be on site and their contact information. You know, that's critical right there. You don't even physically have to go. I mean, obviously you want to go for the career fair, but you have contacts to a variety of different employers on that list. So make sure y'all take a look. Again, this is visit onecc.com. And that way scroll down to the career fair as far as being able to register and then get access to the variety of different resources that they have as well on there. All right, well, hopefully that will help everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed the tip of the week, and please do not be boring while you're networking and interviewing. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody.
Jeff, I can't hear you.
I turned my mic off when, all right, sorry about that. I'll be sure to put that information out in the email that goes out this afternoon to everybody. So as long as we know you're here, we'll be sure to get that email to you about that job fair tomorrow. All right, hopefully some of you, I think most people still eat lunch. If you do eat lunch, maybe you want to come eat lunch and join us today at Jason's Deli. It's the northeast corner of Parker and Preston. They've got everything: soup, salad, big salad bar, soup, sandwiches, all sorts of stuff. You can get soup and salad. So please come join us today, Jason's Deli, 11:45 a.m. We'd love to see you there and be able to continue our networking conversation with you. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to hear from Locke Alderson talking about jumpstarting your job search. I want to just mention, though, upcoming sessions. Next Friday, we're going to do open forum, being the first Friday of the month. You have questions about your job search, ask us. I will not be with you all. Walt Glass is going to run the meeting next Friday. It will be online only. We will not be meeting in person. We will not be on Facebook. So if you want to join, you will need to join us online only, on Zoom only next Friday. So as long as we have you lined up, we'll be very good. Will be great to, you'll be able to see what's going on. And then on Friday, March 10th, Amanda Riox will be with us to talk about jobscan.co. Amanda works for jobscan.co. I know we talked about it a few weeks ago. I reached out to see when I could find somebody from JobScan to talk about what it is, how it's used, how you can use it. And as a job seeker, this is a very, very interesting program because it allows you to put in a job description and put in your resume, and then it matches it up. It's a little bit like a ATS system, except you don't get to see both sides of it. So it'll be a very interesting presentation. Be sure to come join us in 2 weeks. And we've got some great presentations lined up for the rest of the month of March. All right, it's time for our main event. Locke Alderson, many of you, a lot of you know Locke. He's been helping career seekers for years and years around here. He's an accomplished recruiting consultant. Yeah, he's been an executive recruiter. He's worked for Locke Harrison, a senior career consultant. He's been in the recruiting business for many, many, many years. Today, he's going to talk about jumpstarting your job search. So Locke, thank you for being with us, and it's all yours.
You're going to open your screen, Jeff?
Well, do you have the presentation, right? I don't have it.
Yes, I have it, but you have to open your screen.
Oh, you should be good to go. You should be able to share it. Oh, you can't share. All right, hold on here. I thought I allowed you to. Give me a second. Here we go. Okay, now you're co-host. You should be good to share.
Got it now? We're up, right?
We've got it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, as Jeff mentioned, I've been doing this a while. There's my bio up on the screen up there. I have 42 years in industry and having my own recruiting firm as part of that for 12 years. And starting in 2001, as a volunteer at our church, I helped with those in job transition, looking for jobs. And I've been doing that since that time. Part of it paid with Locke Harrison and with Mullen International. And that's part of my background. But as you've already probably gathered, you haven't heard it in so many words, job hunting is not a job, is not something that you can do alone. It's a team sport. So all of the resources that are available to you that have been mentioned are ones that you should be using in some shape, form, or fashion. Again, I got started with this particular presentation when Rex Sowett at the Frisco Career Transition Workshop asked me to do something for those that are looking for work, that have been out of work a while and kind of run up against a brick wall. For those of you taking a holiday or took the holiday from your job search in December and having trouble getting started, that's what this program is all about. I want to talk about that. If you're interested in the slide deck, and it's a big one, there's a lot of information in it. I'm going to cover it pretty fast. You can send me an email at lockealderson@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to send you the whole slide deck. Okay. Well, you're starting your job search. Again, it may be restarting it, maybe just lost your job, but again, you're making some decisions about where you want to go, what you want to do, and we're going to take a look at some of those things. Again, scripture is one of those things that I look at for me for encouragement. But one of the verses in the Old Testament in Jeremiah, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Verses like that offer me encouragement, and I look at those probably, even though I'm not looking for a job right now, probably a couple of times a week that I review the verses that are of encouragement to me. Again, jumpstarting a job search, you're coming to a crossroads perhaps. Where do I go? What do I do? Okay. You haven't lost your talent or your skills or your experience. You just lost a job or are starting to look for a job. And again, another verse of scripture that comes to mind is in Proverbs 16:9. It says, in a heart a man plans his way, but the Lord determines and guides his steps. So part of that process is you're restarting your job search. Now what? At the crossroads, you may still be going through a roller coaster of emotions from a layoff or getting fired. What do I do? If I'd only done this, and rationalizing why you got laid off. Again, but part of that is you got to face forward, look forward, because the view out your windshield as you drive your car is about 100 times larger than the view from your rear view mirror. Job search psychology, thanks to a friend called Dirk Spencer, is where that comes from. He's written a book about that. But again, you want to take a deep breath and try not to panic. Okay. You want to talk to your family and your friends and your significant others because they're in it with you. You want to reflect success, Reflect on how you successfully handled serious situations. I know I'm a cancer survivor. I've survived having a brain tumor, and I've been laid off 4 times in my career, but a job hunter. The other thing that you want to do is not burn the bridges behind you. Once you've left a job, you don't want to badmouth your former employer, your former coworkers. You never know when those former coworkers are going to be employees of that company that you're interviewing with and can give you a reference, yay or nay. Fine, you want to make job hunting a full-time job, but not exclusively so that it's 24 hours a day. You need to take a break and do that. Something that's often overlooked when you're job hunting is having a budget, taking a look at your finances, living expenses, and putting together a budget. Think about 4 walls. What do you need for food, for utilities, for shelter and transportation? This is a simple budget sheet that I copied out of Excel, and you can fill that in to give you a guide of where's the money going. The other thing that you want to take a look at is where's the money coming from? So once you put together that budget, figure out where your income is coming from. Maybe it's from severance pay or Social Security or pension. I know I got a lump sum pension from one company that I work with. Maybe it's coming out of your savings or your checking account, or you borrowed from your 401k or your IRA. If you do that, there are some caveats that you need to be aware of. If you borrow, you may pay an early withdrawal penalty from your IRA or a 401k, as well as having to pay taxes on it in that year. You may be eligible for unemployment. Again, I gave this talk for a group up in Oklahoma, and that's why it says Oklahoma Employment Security. In Texas, it's the Texas Workforce Commission. Health insurance. You may look at, what do I do for health insurance? Well, you may have COBRA from your existing company. And while it's kind of expensive, if you've got some big medical bills, you certainly want to hold on to it as long as you can for that 18 months that you're eligible for. You may look and your spouse may have insurance. There are short-term and health insurance coverages. I know from Blue Cross Blue Shield, my wife had one of those when we both retired at the same time, and she wasn't quite 65, so we could draw Social Security. And then there are indemnity plans. Those plans are strictly to take care of catastrophes, those big medical bills of $5,000 and more. Those insurance plans are relatively inexpensive. But what you're doing now is to jumpstart your job search, and you may be actually reinventing yourself. So you want to ask some questions. Who are you? What do you want to do? Do you want to do the same kind of job or a similar job? Okay. Yourself, now take a look at your last job. What did you like about it? What didn't you like? You may want to take something like Strength Finders or Briggs Meyer or the DISC to find out where are your strengths and analysis. I know I'm going to do that, even though I've been doing that for a number of years. I've signed up for our church is having something like that in another month, and I'm going to go through that again to find out where my strengths really lie. Take a look at your old performance appraisals. I know I had some of those that were in a file cabinet before we moved the last time and purged all of those, but those are from 1992. What are your recommendations on LinkedIn? People will tell you about what are the things that you're good for. Another way to find out who you are is to write an article for the Reader's Digest. And they used to appear in doctors' offices all the time with an article about a greatest accomplishment or a success. What's the greatest accomplishment in your career? Or write your obituary. And while that sounds a little bit morbid, what do you want to be known for? Okay. And write the ideal job posting for yourself. What are you looking for? Review your competition on LinkedIn and revise your profile accordingly. You're going to find your passion. What do you really want to do? Okay. And something like that. What activities are you doing when you forget to eat? And what would you do if you didn't have to work at all for a living? And consider alternatives like self-employment or consulting. This sheet I prepared to give you an idea of what some of the comparisons are in terms of taxes, income taxes and Social Security taxes, health insurance benefits, retirement, things like that. As I said, it compares the two and what you can do from some of that. There are some advantages for being an independent contractor or working for yourself. Again, there are some disadvantages too from that. But again, that information is there in the slide. If you want the deck, send me an email, I'll send it to you. I want to do an honest reality check. Have you accepted what's really happened to you? Okay, instead of looking at if only I had done something, look at things as they are, not like you wish them to be. Okay, remember that you're not alone. Remember, I mentioned a team sport. You're not an outcast and you're not a failure. And so, how have you dealt with change? That's one of the things about older workers in particular. Many companies fear that hiring an older worker, they won't be able to keep up with the changes. But how many of you can remember when a cell phone was really a car phone and it sat on the transmission hump in a car? Or how many of you remember when you first had a cell phone now, I'm on my 4th or 5th generation cell phone. I want a computer. I know when I was one of the first adopters of something called the Trash 80 from Radio Shack, was an all-in-one computer. But older workers do have some advantages. They tend to be more reliable and dedicated, thankful for the jobs that they have, and they have some head knowledge that younger workers may not have. But there really still is some discrimination against older workers. And if there is, you might want to ask yourself, if this company is discriminating against older workers, do I really want to work there? What's it like? And you may end up going through recalibrating your expectation. And again, another verse of scripture that comes to mind for something like this is from Psalms 55:22. Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. Well, just what is the status of the workforce right now? Well, here nationally, unemployment is about 3.4%. In the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's about 3.2%. In January this year, there were about 160 million people employed in the United States, but there were still a desperate need, 11 million jobs available in the US. That's about 1.9 jobs for each person looking for a job. The difficulty that employers have in finding workers for their openings, and what the difficulty is that the skills may not match. And again, that skill mismatch may be only because they can't find the information in your resume that needs to communicate what you're looking for or what your experience is. Likewise, job seekers have experienced difficulty finding jobs after the pandemic that we've had. And don't think that when you don't get a response to your resume that you're unqualified or you've done something wrong. It may mean simply that the person that you've tried to contact and hasn't gotten back to you is probably as overwhelmed as you are looking for a job. So what are employers really looking for? Well, they don't want to make a mistake. They don't want that rotten apple in the barrel of apples, okay? Because hiring the wrong person costs money, and budgets are still tight and headcounts are limited. And I know when I was with Siebel Corporation, we frequently had to get requisitions approved by the chairman's office, by Tom Siebel. And sometimes that would take a week or two to get an approval. If somebody quits, again, why? The questions would often be asked of the hiring manager, why did you not get the right person the first time? And they want to keep people who got their skills current. So if you haven't had current training and haven't listed that on your resume, it's something that you may want to consider, or on your LinkedIn profile. What have you done to keep your skills up? You know, companies want to choose a winner, an A or A+ player, the high achievers. Companies are looking for people who can do the job, who have the right training, skills, and experience. They also want to ask the question, will they do the job? Hit the job running and apply their skills and experience toward the success of the company. And do they fit culturally? Again, do they have flexibility and energy and enthusiasm? Those are some things to think about when you go through your job evaluation, what companies are looking for. Again, this is something that came out of the 90s. There was a magazine for recruiters called The Purple Squirrel. And again, a purple squirrel is that almost impossible candidate to find. Really, the perfect candidate, one that's mythical in nature. These candidates have a perfect mix of skills, education, and experience, and who work for peanuts. And as I said, they're almost impossible to find. Frequently, when I get asked by a hiring manager to find a candidate like this, I would say, you know, those are tough to find. I found a couple of candidates who come close. I'd like you to take a look at them while I continue looking for that perfect candidate for you. And frequently, out of that 3 or 4 candidates presented, they'd interview a couple and usually make an offer to one of those. So that's something that you're up against as well. And even in today's times, companies feel that they can hire the best because the market has got so many candidates available. But again, it's a question of you presenting your skills so that they can match up with what the company's looking for. So what's happened with the internet? Again, the internet allowed applicants to send out multiple resumes at one time instead of having to type a letter or print it out on your computer and write an envelope, address on an envelope, put a stamp on it and take it to the mailbox stuffed with your resume and a cover letter. The computer allows you to send out multiple interviews. You could do 30, 40, 50 a day if you want without much trouble. So companies adopted software to deal with that mountain tide of resumes that look there. And that software, applicant tracking software or applicant tracking systems, frequently referred to as ATS, again, weeds out candidates. Probably 75% of the candidates who submit a resume automatically get weeded out by the applicant tracking software. And again, they're looking for the match, the perfect match, keywords in different places, job titles or things that they look for, and skills that you have. And also looking at the employees, the pedigree, your pedigree, who are the companies that you've worked for? How long have you stayed there? Those are all questions that could be answered by the computer before those pre-screened resumes go to a recruiter or a hiring manager to take a look at. It's estimated that Google gets about 20,000 resumes a week, or over 1 million a year, and probably hires 5,000 to 10,000. Okay, there are about 425,000 resumes get posted each week on Monster. Well, that's something to think about. You're fighting upstream, if you will, on that. Well, really, when you talk about resumes, if you ask somebody to take a look at your resume, they give you their opinion. You ask 100 recruiters about their opinion about your resumes, you may get as many as 100 different opinions about that. So what is a resume is designed for? Well, really, if you think about it, a resume is basically a piece of advertising to get them to call you. It's also a script frequently that you're going to be asked questions about. How many times have you perhaps sat down with a hiring manager, if it was face-to-face, and heard them say, let me take another look at your resume. And they look at the first page and then at the second page and then back at the first page. But really, that first page is getting double exposure. But that script, they're going to ask you questions based on the information that's there about your experience. And then after the interview, it may be the reminder of who you are. I know when I had my own recruiting firm, and I had a hiring manager that I referred a candidate to, he was one of 40 candidates that the manager interviewed. Fortunately, my candidate got to the second round of 5 before the job was canceled, which was kind of disappointing. But how anybody can remember 40 candidates, I don't know, unless they take copious notes in the margin. Okay. Well, let's take a look at some resume basics. Again, your contact information, basically your name, phone number, email, and zip code. And zip code is vitally important on your resume because it's how companies determine how far you live from their location. If you've noticed on job boards, frequently the default setting for distance is 25 miles. And you've told the reason for that is you've told, as applicants, that you've told companies and recruiters, I don't want to drive more than 20 or 25 miles to work. So their default setting is for 25 miles. I know I was working with a group of candidates yesterday, and we adjusted that down in many cases to 10 or 15 miles, depending upon the job board that you're working with. So that's important to have that. Double check your phone numbers. Make sure that they're correct and not transposed. Also use the name that you want to be called by. Make it easy for that hiring manager recruiter to make that phone call and not stumble with that. Okay. The other thing that I'll say is don't put your contact information in a header. Header are often screened by applicant tracking software as and come up as a null field. So if I have a perfect resume and want to contact a candidate and don't have their contact information, I get kind of frustrated because it's a good candidate that might have filled my job. And you might get frustrated because you never hear anything. The job title should be the job that you're applying for. And that may mean changing that title every time you send out a resume, a minor change. Just save it into a folder with ABC company or DEF of what you've applied for. The summary is going to give an overview of your experience. Usually it's good to add a couple of bulleted accomplishments below that support the headline. And those may change too with each resume that you send out. What are your skills? And key areas include the languages that you've used if you use computer programming languages. What is your experience and responsibilities plus the results from performing those experiences, those duties? I know in reviewing resumes, probably over a couple of million, probably 90% of them simply talked about the duties and responsibilities that somebody has performed. They had failed to talk about what were the results of those duties, performing those duties. What was the significance? So also include accurate dates and make sure that the dates on your resume and the dates on your profile match up, okay? And do use use some concrete examples that show results. Your education and experience, be honest about your education and experience. It's too easy to check up about things on your resume and your profile online. And likewise, I mentioned adding your current experiences you've had. What kind of training have you had? What kind of professional training have you had in your jobs? And make sure your resume is easily read and is visually appealing. Let's take a look now at some other basics. Take a look at some, you want to keep it to 1 or 2 pages. Some exceptions to that are if you're applying for an academic position where it's asking for a list of publications. Choose the format that will match up with the applicant tracking system. Some companies, even though they have the most expensive applicant tracking software, don't turn on all of the fonts to be recognized. So the 4 that are most readily used by applicant tracking systems are Calibri, Arial, Tahoma, and Times Roman. And you could notice, as I said, that the point font, or the point on the fonts, again, with 11 and 12 point fonts, the difference in the sizes makes a difference in terms of reading. You don't want to use a font that's an 8-point font, because I can do a control plus on my computer and expand it. When it's printed out, it's still very small, and you don't want to crowd the margins on that. Leave some margins around the edges, because sometimes I know I get the message on printing when I do a printer page. This is outside the margins and may not print, okay, from my printer. And limit your use of bold and italics and underlines. Those are just some quick tips about your resume. And make sure that it's scannable. Don't use text boxes or headers or templates, because the perfectly formatted resume that you have in one of the text boxes or a template may not show up the same way when it gets scanned in an applicant tracking system. Other things that you may want to think about: don't put photos or references on your resume. Photos will get you knocked out in many cases because companies don't want to be accused of discrimination, so they eliminate any resume that has a photo. The exceptions are if you're in modeling or in acting. The preferences, it takes space on resume. Again, they'll ask you for references if they want them. Do proofread it. Look out for those spelling errors. Again, I'm listening to some shows, Manager and Manger. Again, there's 1-letter difference in those, but either one will pass the spell checker. And double check the numbers and dates. Being honest, limit your experience to no more than 15 years. If you want to include prior experience, do it under a section heading called Prior Professional Experience. List the company name, the job title that you had, and maybe one specific accomplishment for that. Okay. This is just some quick do's and don'ts to think about. Keywords and phrases. Focus on your current position. What have you done lately? Because that's the most marketable skills that you have in most cases. Do use a reverse chronological order, and quantify your achievements, your accomplishments. What did you do? And do sweat that small stuff, the details, the correct spelling and the right phone numbers. Okay. Do have a summary. Don't assume anything. That word assume, if you break it apart, tells you something that you don't want to do. Don't exaggerate your qualifications. They can be checked. Don't share too much information. Don't make it a book. You don't want a 700-page resume. And I've had 710-page resumes. They're too long. And don't include references. So another tip that I want to give, and it's something that I haven't heard too much about, how do you tear apart a job posting? Okay, cutting it apart. You want to dissect the job posting for identifying the job requirements and then preparing a table, 2 columns and 2 rows. The left column has got the experience that they're looking for, the requirements, and the right column has got your experience. And use the table as the middle page of a cover letter, and we'll cover that in a minute. And use the table as a guide when you have a phone interview. So let's take a look at a job posting. This was for an actual job for a company in Richardson called DXC Technology. They're on Central, they're at Renner Road. And again, they were looking for a sales executive. Again, I'm just cutting it down. This is not the entire job description. But again, taking the education and experience required, we cut that and we put it into a table. Again, leaving room for the individual to put their experience in the right column, which he did here. And then the next one, we took some of that information, the job title and some of those bulleted accomplishments, and plugged them into his resume. As you can see here, the title changed to the title of a job posting. And we put in 3 accomplishments that he had, 3 of those things that he talked about that support the job title. Again, that gets additional impact because the first third of a page on a resume is usually the one that gets the most attention. In newspaper parlance, it's called the story above the fold. And I think one of our people talked about telling stories. So that's what you want. And you're really desiring them to read further, to click further on your resume. I mentioned cover letters. This is a table cover letter. Many times cover letters have 3 sections. The first section is where you heard about the job. The second section is how you match up with those qualifications. Usually it's in narrative form or sentences and paragraphs. And the third is, let's get together to talk about it, contact. So what we've done in the middle section is to replace that middle section with the job table. You can do it with the whole table or just your qualifications. And the reason being is most cover letters, probably 75% of them, don't even get read because they're too long. I was working with a candidate in another networking group. Her background was marketing communications. Her cover letter, the middle section was 5 paragraphs. It's just too long. It wouldn't get read. As I said, cover letters are there to get attention. And if they can match up the qualifications in easy to read form, they're likely to scan further, take a look at your resume. That table can also be used when you get a phone interview. Because when you have the job posting and your resume and their job table there, you can answer these short statements there. The qualifications can provide the basis for those star stories that you're talking about. And again, facts tell, but stories sell. It's one of the things that keep coming up when you talk to people. Accomplishments or achievements. Again, I won't go into all of this, but again, you want to talk about what you've done, what were the results of performing those duties. Does it tell a complete story? Okay, what resulted from this? What's the importance? So, and ask your question anytime you talk about your achievement. So what? What's the difference? You can start with an active verb and use 1 or 2 lines for results. Use numbers and percentages where possible. Again, and you can do comparison with before and after. Your companies, your competitors, your predecessor. Who was in the job before? You did it better than they did. What were the results of making? Was it making money or saving money? Did it save a candidate or a client? Those are things to talk about. Moving on, some steps to keep you going, your momentum, taking one day at a time. It's important to look at that rather than, hey, I've got to pay the bills at the end of the month. Okay, take care of yourself. First impressions still very important. Okay, what are the impressions? I could be wearing bunny slippers and you wouldn't know it today just because I've got a shirt and tie on today. But again, that first impression is important. Put together your game plan and do maintain a calendar. I know even though I'm not working, I still maintain a daily calendar of events. And I do have something immediately after this presentation to go to. Think about phone phobia. How many of you think that, like to talk on the telephone and answer questions on the telephone for a phone interview? Well, think about the other person. Picture them in your mind. If you can, look them up on LinkedIn, look at their picture that's there. Okay. Write out what you want to say when you have that. Have a short script that you want to prepare. Know what your strengths and weaknesses are. I don't ask that question too much anymore, but again, you can get asked occasionally, what's your greatest weakness? Well, I know mine is impatience with meetings that don't have an agenda, but I've learned to listen to the other people to get their perspective so I can make a more meaningful contribution to the meeting. Again, I've ended with a positive on the note of something weak. Build that support structure and network. You're talking and sitting among people there, the 8 or 9 that are there in the room and those that are online. Because networking is the source of probably anywhere from 40 to 80% of the jobs that are available. This is a slide from when I was with Locke Alderson. And their estimates, they say about 57% of the jobs are filled through networking. Who do you know and who do they know? Internet, job postings and companies, recruiters, hired employment agency recruiters and headhunters maybe get 5 to 10% of the jobs that are available. It depends on the level of the job. I know the last job that I had going to Locke Alderson from Mullen International, it was by an employee referral. I didn't even have to have a resume before I had the interview and got offered the job. I had to have a resume put together, which took me a while, a couple of hours to update a resume because I hadn't done a resume in probably 15 years. But that was required so that HR had something to put into the computer. Networking, when to start? Well, if you haven't started now, it's a good time to start. Remember your 30-second pitch. It shouldn't be something that you've memorized. It may be altered to the group that you're talking to. Do try to attend a couple of groups, such as Career DFW and professional associations that are available, CPAs, Marketing Association. There's a group called FANG, Financial Executive Networking Group, users groups, North Texas Association of Mortgage Professionals. When I was with Mullen International, we were dealing with a lot of mortgage professionals who were laid off from Capital One. The civic groups are available, alumni groups, meetups, accountability groups, and you want to be an employer referral. The reason for being an employer referral, again, is that frequently an employer referral, there's an employer referral program at that person's company that pays them money. When I was with Siebel, we paid $2,500 for each Siebel consultant that was hired and stayed for 6 months because we were a new company new kid on the block. And remember, just another verse of scripture that I toss in from Ecclesiastes 4:12. One person can be easily overpowered or overcome, while two people can stand for themselves, and a rope made of three cords isn't easily broken. Quick interviews, the practice interview team. I know I was on the practice interview team as an interviewer for a couple of years back in the teens, before my schedule got too busy. Do be prepared, do your research on the companies. Again, even job boards like Indeed.com. I gave a presentation on Indeed.com yesterday. They have a section where you can do research on a company. Well, the last thing that you want to do is when somebody says, "What? Tell me a little about my company. What do you know about our company?" Do be honest and don't badmouth your former employers, bosses, or coworkers. Do exchange business cards and resumes. Have those if you go for a face-to-face interview. And if you do, likewise, on a face-to-face interview, you want to be courteous to the gatekeeper, that receptionist or that guard at the gate, because sometimes the recruiter or hiring manager will walk somebody out to the lobby, and they'll turn to the gatekeeper and ask, "Well, what did you think?" They're not asking about your qualifications to do the job. They're talking about how you treated them, what would be their fit for your company. And do informational interviews. Information to gather information about a company can often turn into a job interview. And likewise, if you're in a job interview that goes south, and you recognize that frequently after the first 5 or 10 minutes, say, "Well, who do you know that I should be talking to?" Turn it into an informational interview. And again, you want to convince a hiring manager in a company and a recruiter that you're not a risk. I mentioned LinkedIn and give a whole session about that for Jeff. And I think my next one is on the second Tuesday, is it, Jeff? And I'm giving that. But LinkedIn is the #1 tool used by recruiters to find candidates. Your recruiter is your profile is your homepage. It's very similar to your resume, though not completely, because you can add more information on LinkedIn than you can in your good resume. The all-star is at completing all the sections of the profile. Again, have something in there. Your name below the headline and the job titles that you're seeking. Again, the job title, if you don't put a job title on LinkedIn, it's going to default to the last job title in your employment section. So you want the job title that you have, and you can list in your section for the job titles. Your headline allows you to have 220 characters. You can get in 5 or 6 job titles there as you want. Open to new opportunities, that button, open to work, that banner from about 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock allows you to list another 5 job opportunities. Also allows you to talk whether you're interested in remote work, hybrid, or on-site. And locationally, if you're looking to relocate or open to relocate. You need to have your contact information on the first line of your about section. If we're not directly linked as first-degree connections, how am I going to get in touch with you? Again, the first 3 lines of your about section are what shows up when somebody looks at your profile. Don't want them to make them to scroll down in your profile to find your contact information, because recruiters are busy, hiring managers are busy. Hiring managers are not in the business of looking for candidates all the time. Education, include that professional development and training classes that you had, webinars, seminars, and workshops. And likewise, if you have your skills section and haven't reorganized that, LinkedIn allows you to have 50, but it only shows 3 at a time. There's 3 dots there on when you look at that section. If you click on that, it allows you to reorder your skills that are there so that you can put the skills that you want that are most relevant. And you may change it around periodically to see what results that you get. Career investments and your activity. If you're on LinkedIn daily, it gives you a higher rating than somebody who's on it once a month in terms of that section. And again, you want to have your headline something. What do you want to be known by? This is my old one. If you notice it's there, if you make a change to it, because it allows you to have more sections now, this is a little bit more descriptive. It allows you to add more information. I've added successful executive recruiter, a highly skilled technical and professional recruiter, okay, sought after speaker. And yeah, Jeff sought me out earlier this week to speak to you all. And I appreciate that, Jeff. Your LinkedIn profile needs to be, complete, as I mentioned, having the things that are there. And you need to talk about reinventing yourself. Identify what's not working for you and stop doing it. If it's not working, don't apply for jobs where you really aren't qualified. Okay. Tweak your resume and your profile on LinkedIn periodically. Okay. and know who your competition is. Look up, do a job search, do a people search on LinkedIn for people with your background. Okay, when you do, click the jobs tab and you've done a job search, there's a drop down arrow next to the jobs on the toolbar. And then one of the sections is for people, do a people search. And don't try and boil the ocean. What do I mean by that? Have a laser focus. You don't want a resume that's trying to be all encompassing for every job that you want. You want to tailor to each time the job that you're applying for. That tailoring may simply be changing out the job title and those bulleted accomplishments below your summary. Do touch bases with your contacts every couple of weeks. Okay, I know one of the jobs that I got with my former company, I went back to Siebel twice. And the third time that I went back, I sent a Christmas letter to my former boss. I've been away from Siebel for about a year. And the Christmas letter went out in November, early December. He called me January the 3rd to ask would I be interested in coming back to Siebel. And so I was. Do become an employee referral and network. Participate in the networking greetings. You get leads there and you can share with others. If you don't get the job, maybe it'd be good for somebody else to get that job. And do send thank you notes to everyone. Don't send it to just the recruiter. Because if the recruiter gets it, their job is not to be your social secretary and send the email to others. Do include some fun activities in your calendar. Don't just job hunt, job hunt, job hunt. It may be taking the kids out to Brahms or going out to the movies on a Thursday afternoon, something like that. Again, they used to have the dollar movies, but I think those have all gone away. And do keep up technically. You know, what have you done in terms of articles or books or courses in your career? I know I still, even though I'm retired, I probably turn into webinars, at least 2 or 3 different webinars a month in my field. And add some humor in your life. So that's kind of where we are. If we don't have any questions, Jeff, I'll turn it back to you or answer any questions.
Well, Locke, yeah, there are 2 questions here. Number 1, do cover letters go through the ATS? Also, will the table get kicked out? So if you're putting a little table for the, you know, the middle part there, would that get kicked out on a ATS system?
Okay, good question. That's why one of the reasons I suggested that table, you can cut it down to just your qualifications. So it's simply a list in the job posting, in the cover letter. Cover letters can be a part of your resume submission if you want. You can add it as the first page of your resume or the last page of your resume, only so that the information is there when it goes through the computer. I tend to think being in the last page on your resume is the safest way because when an ATS looks at your resume, they're looking to cut and paste your resume into their form. And again, the first things that they're looking for might be your name, contact information, the job title and summary, and then your employment experience. So having that as an addendum of the last page is something that you want to look at.
And a lot of ATS systems allow you to add an additional document. So that's a good place where you can just add that cover letter. See, Chuck says, what do you use for your most recent employment information when you're unemployed?
That's a good question because one of the things that I talk about, come on, what's doing here? One of the things that I talk about in terms of your employment, I advise people when I do the LinkedIn session to always have a current job posting. And that job posting can simply be the title of the job that you're looking for, whether it's in telecommunications or a design engineer in telecommunications or financial services. What is it that you're looking for there? And have some of the dates for the last date of employment until present, and that you're actively looking for a position. That's also something when you do the open to work that you can include the title of the jobs that you're looking for there.
All right. Let's see here. Diego says, should I also have the open to work green line on the LinkedIn profile picture? Is it good to have?
I think if you're actively looking for work and not currently employed, the answer is yes. You want to notify as many people as possible that you're looking for work. If you're currently working and looking for a better job or a bridge job, you may want to just limit that to recruiters. But again, if you limit it to recruiters, remember that only recruiters who have taken out the software license, like our friend Kurt, has a software license with LinkedIn that runs about $10,000 a year per seat. So he has 2 seats for his company. Again, if you're somebody like Midge Duncan, she has the Recruiter Lite software license, and that's about, I think that's about $5,000 a year. So if you don't have that, again, having that contact information in your LinkedIn profile is very vital.
you know, the whole point is you want as many people to know about LinkedIn as you can. So, I mean, to know that you're looking for a job. So, yeah, if you're looking for work, put the green banner on it. There's nothing wrong with doing it. And who knows, you may have a contact who goes, oh, I worked with 5 years ago. I didn't know you're out looking for a job right now. Oh, let me see how I can reach out. I really enjoyed working with you. Maybe I can help you. So, you know, as Locke said, a lot of recruiters do not pay, half the recruiters do not pay for the LinkedIn recruiting package. They join big groups of people and they network through those groups to try to find you. So if put it on there, it will not hurt you.
The other thing I'll mention about that is keeping in touch with your contacts. If it's been 4 to 6 weeks that you've touched bases with the people in your network, let them know. Just want to let you know I'm still looking, haven't found that right opportunity yet. If you should hear something, I'd love to hear about it so I can follow up on it. Some note, it can be just an email like that. Again, I mentioned getting in touch with my former boss after I'd been out of work for about a year at Siebel. Just threw something like as simple as a Christmas note, and he called me after the holidays. Again, I had another friend in another networking group. He'd been out of work for about a year and met his neighbor in the alley. The friend was with a bank here in town, had an opening, interviewed him and hired him on the spot. So again, keep in touch with your network. Let people know that you're looking. People are there to help you if you want. If you ask for the help, they'll try and help.
Right. Anybody else have any questions for Locke? Questions? Yeah, hold on a second. Yep. Wait a second.
We're supposed to be honest when we go for an interview. And let's say if they ask me, what was the reason you quit your last job? All I can say is sum it up as it was a complete mess. So how can I be honest about it and at the same time not criticize anything, because it was 100% complete mess.
Well, again, the thing that somebody asked me that's a similar question yesterday was keep it short and simple. You don't have to tell the whole truth about the situation. We came to a mutual agreement that it was not a fit for them or for me.
Okay, thank you.
And you could say, I learned a lot while I was there.
Yeah.
That's the point. I wasn't learning anything. I had to teach everyone.
They don't have to know that though. But I mean, that's the whole key. They don't need to know that you didn't learn anything. It's just a matter of, it just was, it was time to move on.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I'll mention again, Jeff, anybody that wants the slide deck, because I went through that pretty quick, a lot quicker than I wanted to do. They can email me at lockealderson@gmail.com and I'll be happy to send them the deck.
Right. And I sent you an email. If you'd send it to me, I'll put it out to everybody when I send out the email this afternoon. So if you can shoot it to me, I know you've got 11 o'clock appointment. So I would appreciate if you send it to me this morning, I'll make sure it goes out to everybody who's on the call today.
Okay. And anybody that wants a personal copy, I'll still send it to them if you send it to me.
Right. Well, Locke, thank you very, very much. Thanks for the information. Great information. And like I said, if you want his deck, please, we'll get it out to everybody this afternoon. So next Friday, we're going to do open forum. It will be on Zoom only. There'll be no Facebook. It'll be in the email that goes out it'll go out during the week. So if you'd like to join us, please join us. I'll be out of town, but Walt Glass will be leading the meeting next Friday. If you have not put your 30-second introductions into the Zoom chat window, please do let us know you're with us today. This way I can update the roster. I can make sure that we know you're with us. You'll get the email that goes out this afternoon. You'll get a copy. Also, we'll get the flyer for the job fair that's going tomorrow. We'll make sure to get that out to everybody this afternoon. So if you haven't done so, please go ahead and put in your 30-second introductions. And when you get that email this afternoon, please look it over and see who you can help. Do you see a target company that somebody else has? Can you help somebody out and maybe give them a lead? So look it over when you get that email this afternoon. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us next Tuesday for LinkedIn Tuesday, LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. Kurt Vondermatter will be with us. Kurt, as Locke said, Kurt spends about $10,000 a year for the full-blown recruiting package. It's not often that you'll get to see what it looks like from the back end, but he's going to show us what he's looking for when he's looking for you. Now, he's a retained search consultant, so he gets hired by a company just to hire somebody. He's not competing with other people, and he's not an in-house recruiter. So the way he's using it may be a little different than other in-house recruiters would be using it, but please come join us. Next Wednesday, if you're interviewing Wednesdays, the practice interview team will be meeting live and in person only, as they do on the first and third Wednesdays from now on. They'll be at Christ United Methodist Church, 3101 Coit Road. It's the corner of Parker and Coit. Please park in the north parking lot. There'll be no online session. The next online session will be on March 8th. And then next Thursday, being the first Thursday of the month, we'll talk all about effective resumes, and primarily effective resumes when you're filling it out for the ATS system. So please come join us then. This session has been recorded. You will be able to go back and watch it on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist where you see that green arrow. And then down below, what'll happen is every video that I upload goes into one of 7 different playlists, so that you'll be able to then find the video easily. So if you want to find the session, today's session, you want to go to the playlist that says North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers, click on that red arrow, and then up will come a list of all the different speakers and topics that we've talked about. You can scroll down, find the one you want to watch. It'll be later this afternoon, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock before today's session gets uploaded to YouTube, or time YouTube will go and process it. Hopefully you'll come join us today at Jason's Deli. You got to eat lunch, 11:45, 1 hour from now. Yep, just about an hour from now. So a bunch of us will be there. So please come join us in northeast corner of Parker and Preston. Everything you'd ever want for lunch. You got to eat lunch. It's time to eat lunch. You got to come join us. So come join us so we can continue to network with you. So Locke, once again, thank you very much. Everybody else, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will see you all next week.